We've all wondered why some stories make it big while others barely see the light of day. Is it fate, a formula, or is it something more deliberate? Hi, I'm Sean Platt, and today we're pulling back the curtain on the gatekeepers of storytelling, those unseen forces that elevate some narratives and bury others. From editors and censors to algorithms and cultural norms, these unseen hands shape what we read, watch, and consume. But who are they? And what happens to the stories that never make it past the gate? Gatekeepers are the bouncers of storytelling. They decide who gets into the club and who's left standing outside. In the world of publishing, they're the editors, the agents, and the acquisitions teams who choose which books make it to print. In Hollywood, they're producers, executive, and financiers. And in the broader cultural landscape, they're the censors, critics, and yes, even the algorithms that control what we see. They can elevate a masterpiece, but they can also keep a revolution locked behind the velvet rope. In short, they're the arbiters of which narratives survive and which ones never leave the page. Every story has a gate to pass through, but who decides where those gates are and who gets to open them? Gatekeeping isn't inherently bad. In fact, it's often necessary. Think about editors. Their job isn't just to polish a manuscript, but to ensure a story connects with readers. A great editor can take a good book and make it unforgettable. But gatekeeping becomes a problem when it limits creativity or reinforces existing power structures. The Hays Code, implemented in 1934, dictated what was morally acceptable on screen for decades. The code banned depictions of sexuality, excessive violence, interracial relationships, and LGBTQ characters. Films had to conform to a narrow vision of propriety, often resulting in stories that stripped away complexity and controversy. Or look at the publishing world. For years, certain genres and voices were deemed unmarketable. How many incredible stories were lost because they didn't fit into neat boxes? The line between curation and censorship is razor thin. One can refine a story while the other can strip it of its soul. In today's world, gatekeepers look less like editors and more like lines of code. Algorithms decide what we see, based on data points and predictions. Whether it's TikTok, YouTube, or Amazon, these digital gatekeepers prioritize what sells, what's clickable, and what keeps us scrolling. Algorithms train us to consume them in bite-sized, market-friendly packages. The result? A storytelling landscape shaped by what's clickable, not necessarily what's meaningful. And while algorithms can amplify underrepresented voices, they also create echo chambers. Spaces where we only see what's been deemed relevant to us, instead of what might challenge us, expand us, or transform us. Echo chambers don't just limit creativity, they reinforce existing biases, keeping us in comfortable bubbles instead of challenging our perspectives. Gatekeepers don't just work behind desks or in server rooms. Cultural norms are some of the most powerful and invisible gatekeepers we face. What stories are deemed appropriate? Which perspectives are considered universal? These questions shape everything from blockbuster scripts to the bedtime stories we read our children. For example, many female writers in the 19th century used male pseudonyms to navigate a world where their voices were not welcome. Marianne Evans became George Eliot to publish Middlemarch. Today, we call the book a classic. Back then, her name was a liability. Even today, authors of color often feel pressure to center their narratives on themes of trauma or identity to meet market expectations. For example, Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie has spoken about how publishers often expect African writers to focus on poverty and oppression rather than stories of joy and ambition. Similarly, Viet Thanh Nguyen has highlighted how war narratives from non-Western perspectives are often sidelined in favor of stories that cater to Western viewpoints. Gatekeeping by cultural norms isn't just about what stories are told, it's about who's allowed to tell them and on whose terms. As writer Roxane Gay said, "Too often, we're expected to represent everyone in our community when all we want is the freedom to tell our own stories." Love them or hate them, gatekeepers play a huge role in shaping the stories that define us. They are both the architects who draft the blueprints of our culture and the guards deciding who gets a key to the door. They shape the boundaries of our collective imagination, for better or worse. They elevate voices, but they also silence them, challenge norms while reinforcing them, and ultimately, they force us to confront the power dynamics that decide which stories are seen, heard, and remembered. Good thing the gatekeepers aren't invincible. Self-publishing, crowdfunding, and digital platforms have shifted the balance of power, but the gatekeepers still set the rules of the larger game. Platforms like Kickstarter and Patreon allow creators to connect directly with their audiences, bypassing traditional gatekeepers altogether. Authors like Andy Weir, The Martian, and filmmakers like Issa Rae, Awkward Black Girl, found massive success by building their audiences outside the system. These tools empower creators, but they also come with new challenges, requiring storytellers to wear multiple hats from marketer to entrepreneur, something I'm intimately familiar with. So, who decides which stories get told? The gatekeepers? Yes, but also you. Every book you buy, every movie you stream, every video you share is a vote for the stories you want to see more of. Remember, the world is bigger than the gatekeepers. Some of the most iconic stories were rejected, censored, or ignored before they finally broke through. Gatekeepers might set the stage, but you control the spotlight. Every choice you make as a creator or consumer slowly reshapes the landscape of storytelling. Don't just tell your stories, champion the ones that deserve to be heard, and don't let anyone else decide their worth. Remember, the gatekeepers don't hold all the power. Your stories, your choices, and your voice matter more than any gate. What's the story you think the world needs to hear but hasn't? Who's standing in its way? And how do we get past them? Let's hear it in the comments. Plot 147 is a story about the ultimate gatekeepers, a secretive organization deciding which stories are too dangerous to tell. It's a story that explores the power of censorship, creativity, and the fight for truth. Grab your copy by clicking the link below, and don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into the power of storytelling. See you tomorrow.